So this is vlog 13. I apologize that it's not working out the way that I intended. I thought I was going to go inside, write an air candle letter, and then get that sent, and then the people that would have already, probably the ones that are told to look into me right now, which will hopefully one day become the happy public. One day soon, not later. So we're trying to promote the advertising, and to do that I need to get Air Canada to jump on the back of the two psychiatrists who paid for the airplane ticket to get me from Vancouver to Toronto. And I told my wife this morning when we were comparing airplane tickets, she wants to come around Christmas time to Canada, and we can't afford the plane ticket, so we gotta figure that one out. I could ask Air Canada for a plane ticket, but I mean, that stuff usually never goes good. Not usually. I mean, I asked Paul Bannis for partnership so that I could be a role model of the hotel. Actually, I asked the manager, and because I was on good standings with the manager actually put the request up to her boss, and her boss had a corner. And then he realized it must have been a part of a practical joke or something like that. So then he was trying to shut me down with that email on the. I don't know. That's just speculation, but can't be sure of anything. A good friend of mine once said, "Find normal." That's Ken Wapnick. Find normal. Whenever you think you're going crazy, just breathe and find normal. Oh, sorry, I had a little bit of grease on my finger, a little dirt too. Sprinkling. So there's a few things that need to be addressed. And I think that's maybe why I'm bickering around at the beginning of this video. In particular, the whole subject of sex. Imagine that it was left out of the A Course in Miracles book. Well, it was left out of the A Course in Miracles book mostly because the writers were too prudish to speak candidly about it. And candidly is a word that comes from the word candor, which means to volunteer information in a criminal scene or case that can and will be used against you, but helps to clarify the situation and demonstrate your innocence. Lawyers understand that. It's the whole consistency applies to itself, part of the Constitution of Canada, Section 52. So, in that regard, okay, let's talk about age of consent. Edgar Casey says that biblical Mary was 16 years old when she gave birth. 16 sounds like a really good age of consent. Like, honestly, it really does. The body's ready to give birth. My question is, why would you delay the natural process of something that is not understood by you? So, you legally have no right to prevent girls from having a baby. So there's never a girl in jail, even though she has kids at like 12 and 13 and 14 years old. So how come they can't marry? And how come they need their parents' permission to marry at that point? So how about we do like a sliding age of consent? So you need your parents' permission to marry if you're below 16, unless you've given birth, and you see, you can't start with the conditions, because as soon as you get into conditions, you start getting into wraparound legal arguments. Because the boy could always abduct the girl, in the worst case. And that's against the law at that point, for having allowed the girl to have her own freedom of consent below 16 after having given birth on those grounds. So I can logic everything out, but we still have to work out something with that age of consent. So What can be done is no criminal charges for anything above that. To anybody above 16 or up. So at least it's not punishing something you're considering making legal, because that would make no sense. That's a little bit like honestly, that's a little bit like arresting somebody for carrying marijuana in a country that's going to legalize marijuana, just so that the police officers could take the marijuana, to take it home, smoke it, and have the guy that had the marijuana sit rotting in their jail cell for a couple of days, wondering where his pot went. You want to tell me how many times in Canada that didn't happen? I know it's happened a fair bit. So, man, we got legal issues in this place. So some other legal issues. We don't have the definition of the word mind. There's no legal definition of the word mind. So when doctors diagnose when doctors make a diagnosis of mental illness. You know, my mother pays more attention to my words these days than I do. Oh, it's ridiculous. They don't know what it is that they're diagnosing, is what I wanted to say. There's no legal definition of the word mind. And then, on top of that, there is the legal inclusion of the three-letter word G-O-D, God, in the Constitution of Canada. And that's a really big problem, because nobody defined that word either. And as a matter of fact, not only did they not define the word God, but it's supposed to be the one word that can't be defined. And then they made that word legal. So by making that word legal, they've actually left a three-letter gap in the law. Like a literal gap that's 3 letters wide. And that's like the size of eternity to anybody who really understands the law. I mean, talk about being able to drive a Mack truck through a courtroom figuratively. I mean, that 3-letter gap, you can turn it into an elastic band and put a circle around Ottawa with it, which is Canada's capital. I mean, oh, we already did that. I already did that. Oh, yeah, anyway. Yeah, well, you know, getting back on track then. Okay, so dear guys, sorry about this. So on the 26th of June, I actually did send an email to the Vancouver City Council. Yeah, it was a pretty important email, actually. And I had 2 Vancouver police officers vouch for me in that email. And then the psychiatrists were supposed to go to the police and say, is this correct? Are these statements correct? But the psychiatrists didn't do that. They just presumed delusion and then forcibly injected me, medicated me on the 2nd of July. And then on the 4th of July, they decided that I wanted to go home. So they flew me back to Toronto. It cost taxpayers almost $1,000 Canadian dollars. Can you believe that? They didn't even care what ticket they were buying. Just, you know, hit the first one. So it was almost $1,000, $990. Yeah, I have the receipt. Oh, it's inside. Anyway, yeah, the hospital gave me a printout copy of the ticket, which included the price. So I just had to go to the counter and enter the ticket number. The nurse actually gave me some false information. She told me I was allowed to check a bag. The hospital didn't even double confirm or just even singly confirm that I was able to take a single bag with me to begin with. So after paying $990 to Air Canada, I was not allowed to carry a bag to Toronto. So I'm standing there, the agent Karen at Air Canada. Karen, I don't have any money on me. Can I borrow your phone and call Air Canada or call somebody at the hospital, because they paid the ticket. I'm sure they have lots of money to pay for your extra $36, but I can't do it right now. I don't have the means. And she realized, I guess, that it was either going to sleep at the airport again, or she was going to let me on board. So she waived the fee. But really, though, that's the hospital's fault also. So we really got to get some coordination working into them, because they can't just, like, they accepted me into the hospital on the 26th of June. after I wrote the email to verify the statements of the email. And then they didn't verify the statements of the email, didn't ask the police to verify the statements of the email, accused me of delusions on the basis that the statements were false, then forcibly medicated me. And then when I insisted on the right to challenge and protest and argue against their, number one, false diagnosis, because I'm actually, apparently there's like multiple personalities. That's the right one. They were using a whole bunch of others. I mean, a whole bunch of others. Like all of the other perceptual disorders came up. But not that one, not the multiple personality disorder one. So they got it wrong to begin with. So challenge the diagnosis. Second, challenge the medication. Not only on grounds that it's a wrong diagnosis, but challenge the medication that it was even necessary, because I'm telling you that the multiple personalities that I have, we're all in agreement about this. What's happening in my life right now is insane. So if you're in agreement that it's insane, then we encourage you to vote, vote4pm.ca, and that's voting me for Prime Minister of Canada, which is the purpose of this vlog, so I don't have to repeat it all the time. It should also be on the top of the videos now that I'm getting more in sync with myself. So some things just don't need to be said. They go without saying. Talking through pictures sort of stuff, you know? And then there's the, so we definitely have to talk about sex at some point. You know, though, we got to talk about the whole jail system. The whole penal part about putting people into a box and then giving them absolutely nothing constructive to think about for years on end. What exactly is the purpose of that? Like, seriously, what is the purpose of that? And then to make matters worse, I mean, what happened the other day? Like the other time there in Ontario, somebody had decided to like tattoo himself out of boredom, and then he got a blood infection, and then his teeth started to fall out, and then the doctors of the jail in Ontario, Canada, still didn't care about this guy, and he ended up dying of blood poisoning like a year after he got the infection, because you put him into a jail cell and you left him there with absolutely nothing to do. Do we have the right to life in Canada? Because at this point, we can make the argument that the jail system of Canada is corrupt. Period. All wrong. So that needs to be fixed, and I'm going to fix that. That's my environment, and I've been there, I've seen it, and I hate it, and it sucks, and whoever's there now, I feel with you. I'm on the outside, I'm working on your behalf. I am with you. There's no argument about this. There's at jail. Doesn't matter if you're guilty or innocent, jail is a waste of time. Period. For everybody. And truly, to the guards, also. To the guards. If you're working in a jail, yes, you are correct. You are in jail. My apologies for that realization. The honest will understand what I mean by that, because it sucks. You spend most of your waking hours in jail, and the rest of the waking hours enjoying the bed that you paid to keep out of jail, while the rest of you has to stay in jail. That's not freedom. That's an elastic band. That's like being a regular inmate and then being chosen as the server of the food so that you can hand out the trays a little bit longer and stay outside your cell for the extra 5 minutes or 15 minutes to go mop after everybody's done, or maybe 45 minutes. But you're going back in, and so are the guards going back into jail. It's an elastic band. The guards are in jail too, so feel with the guards here who are working in the jails. It's not only the inmates, it's also the guards. It is torturing both. It is incorrect on both. Neither is happy, and they are certainly not treating each other happily with a genuine happiness, because everything about that place is wrong. The jail system in Canada is wrong. It can be done way better, way more constructive to society, save a bundle of money, and make money in return. And by the way, I had the idea to grow weed inside jail in 2014 already. You got government weed farms right there, and you got jailers who would be happy to go outside and get some fresh air and pruning time. I mean, come on. You want another idea? Lake Mead in the USA. Seagull. I can finally get these ideas out. So I was in jail there with nothing to do, and I ended up taking the logically most efficient meal, which was the vegan meal, because it had two peanut butter cups every morning. And those were, of the food categories, prized the most, so it was. So with these extra 2 peanut butter cups, which other people were only getting 1 a week, I was getting 2 a day. I was able to trade for lots of extra stuff. I didn't need the pills. Dr. Lorberg mentioned him in the first vlog. Okay. The next one to Dr. Lorberg. This one was 13. Next one's 14.